Today we're stepping into the kaleidoscopic world of Dani Dazey, textile designer, author, fashion creator, and the visionary behind Trixie Motel's Palm Springs Motel. Celebrated for her fearless embrace of color and unapologetically maximalist style, Dazey has channeled her artistry into her very own Dazey Dreamhouse, a retro-inspired Los Angeles home that feels like a living extension of her imagination.
Welcome to my cloffice. This room is a closet office hybrid. We needed more storage space. With a lot of old homes, they did not have enough closets. Having a closet room is every girl's dream. I'm able to have all of my clothes here in this beautiful space, but we couldn't just have it be a closet that felt a little wasteful. So the hybrid was really the way to go here, and that way we get the most use out of the space.
Every corner of this 70s-infused retreat radiates personality, with dynamic patterns, groovy silhouettes, curated treasures, and rich, saturated hues that transform everyday living into something extraordinary. And just when you think you've uncovered it all, Dani unveils a hidden speakeasy tucked inside the house, a glittering nod to disco-era glamour and her love of playful, transportive design.
This might look like just an average bookcase, but it is a secret door to our super special retro rec room. How fun is this space? And I love that it's such a departure from the kitchen that our hidden door feels like a portal into a different decade.
From hand-painted murals to bespoke textiles and nostalgic details, the Pink Dreamhouse is more than a home. It's Dani's canvas, a place where fashion, art, and interiors collide to create a world that's vibrant and uniquely hers. This home dares you to dream bigger, embrace maximalism, and celebrate the beauty of self-expression. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. A big thanks to Uncommon Goods for sponsoring today's episode. The holidays will be here before we know it, and I like to give gifts that feel personal and thoughtful. And at Uncommon Goods, you can find just about anything. They're an online marketplace filled with meaningful, creative gifts from independent artists and small businesses. Whether you're shopping for a reader, a foodie, or a gardener, they have tons of categories for gift giving, and everything is one of a kind. I'm looking for a gift for Michael. He loves chips and salsa, so this snack server is perfect. And then I thought I would pair it with a Mexican mortar and pestle so we can make homemade guacamole. Every purchase supports small makers. Plus, Uncommon Goods donates $1 to a nonprofit of your choice with every order. They've already given back over $3 million. So whether you're shopping for your secret Santa or your entire family, Uncommon Goods makes holiday gifting easy, meaningful, and delicious.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Dani Dazey, and welcome to my magical maximal home in LA. I'm Dani Dazey. I'm an interior and print designer and author of The Maximalist, and this is my home in Los Angeles, California. My husband and I have had this home for 2 years now, and we've definitely done a lot. It was a blank white space, and we've added so much color and print. The architectural style is kind of interesting. You'll see throughout the tour, it's a very funky house. It has a lot of weird nooks and crannies. It's like a little bit craftsman. It was labeled traditional on Zillow when we bought it, but we really tried to lean into that charm and bring like the charming character back into the space. Welcome to my living room, my favorite room of the house, and also the cover girl of my book, The Maximalist. I love having one of these books sitting out on the coffee table in the room because people always walk up to it and they're like, wait a second, we're in this space. So these ceilings were one of the biggest reasons why we bought this house. They are so tall and expansive. It already came with all of this really beautiful wood and vaulted ceilings, but we did end up adding the skylights, which made a huge difference in bringing light into this space and also added architectural interest to the space that wasn't necessarily there before. We also swapped out all of the lighting in the ceiling. It was all recessed lighting, and we swapped it for these really beautiful semi-flush fixtures. We tiled this entire facade of the fireplace. Before it was just this black metal box, so we painted the metal to match. We added this mantle, we added the lighting, and created a whole moment where there really was none. This is a vintage peacock fireplace cover. I'm obsessed with them. And with the tile colors, we really wanted to bring in the colors of the room. So we have this really beautiful hunter green, more of a minty color, yellow, and then cream, and you can see those colors tied in throughout the rest of the room. For me, tying in color again and again is how I pull off these crazy pattern-filled spaces, but make them feel seamless and make sense. The biggest piece of furniture we have in this room and the whole entire house is this massive U-shaped couch in this gorgeous golden yellow color. We did a half wall here and added trim to this space, which kind of gives it that charm as if it was always there. It really fits the house and the theme. And as you can see, my color scheme is tied in there as well, tied into the couch. It's also tied into the wallpaper. The wallpaper is a custom print I designed. And you can see that wallpaper is also on these chairs. So I love to put my prints everywhere I can, whether it's the wall, on pieces of furniture, and this print is also on the cover of my book. My most used space in the house is our smallest room. This is the Nook. It is so cute. When we first bought this house, it was staged as a little office, and we would have never used it that way. So instead, we found the perfect shaped couch that fits just right in here. We wallpapered it, painted the ceiling, and now it's just this cozy little nook, and I live here. So this space is a little more monochromatic. We do have some pops of yellow, but I've heard people refer to this as the womb room, and I mean, obviously very appropriate right now, but I feel like there's something about just being enveloped in this cozy, warm tone that feels like a big hug. And this space is all about being cozy, and it just fits that vibe perfectly. My background is in art and fashion and apparel graphics, textile design, and eventually ended up doing interiors and kind of took a lot of that knowledge of print and color and designing a big colorful clothing collection into designing my spaces. And I really have a lot of color confidence, I would say. So I'm not afraid to go for it in a space. With this particular space, what I really wanted to accomplish is traditional with a twist. So we kind of lean into some of those more traditional elements like trim and wallpaper, but we also have like the bright colors, and a lot of the wallpaper prints, which actually designed, are a little more on the abstract side, but still kind of have that traditional vibe. And underneath our little plant wall, there was this awkward soffit in the living room that didn't really work to put a piece of art or something. So we decided to add a whole plant shelf wall. And I love what a cool transition it makes, especially when they get really overgrown, into our dining room. This dining room is connected to the living room, but the colors shift a little bit over here. As you can see, there's more of this pink terracotta color. And even our walls, they go from having the two shades of green and the yellow to having a pink instead. So the room slowly shifts as you walk into it. And I did that on purpose so it felt a little different and a little bit like its own space compared to the rest of the living room. Another way we really made this room feel a little separate than the rest of the space is by wallpapering the ceiling, creating its own little moment. I got this really cool light fixture. I added a ceiling medallion, which is one of my favorite hacks to bring a little more character into a space. This is also a place where we end up working a lot. And one of my favorite things to do with a dining table is to skip the dining chairs, they're not comfortable, and just use slipper chairs or just regular living room chairs as the dining chairs. And when we're working here all day long, it's super comfortable. You never want to leave. Even when we're hosting friends, it's just so cozy and you could sit here for hours chatting. In this little corner, we have our bar cart, cute little shelves with the wavy motif, and we fit the shelves inside of the molding, which I thought was pretty clever and a good use of space. Pink and green will forever be one of my favorite color combos. We've had full pink living rooms in the past, and for this house, my husband was like, maybe not a full pink living room. So I saved the pink for this little area as a little bit of a compromise. I think I learned to be more risky with my design choices by designing clothing. You're designing by the season, so it doesn't feel as serious or intense. And I feel like when people make decisions for their home, they feel like it's this permanent, forever decision that they're gonna wanna love for decades to come. And I had just never designed that way. I was used to designing seasonally, so I kind of applied that same carefree, like what I love right now approach to my interiors. And surprisingly, I've actually loved them for longer than I would if I would have just followed trends or tried to play it a little more safe. Like, these are spaces that I just go for the things that light me up and get me excited. And the dining room opens to our colorful kitchen. When we originally bought this house, this whole wall was a wall, and there was one little square door entry to the kitchen, and we blasted it open, created a bunch of areas to entertain and hang out. Now it's so open. I love to hang out here while my husband cooks for me. And we also added this little nook in the corner. I'm a sucker for a kitchen booth, and I wanted to have both the bar and the booth, but we're working kind of within a tight space. But my husband is very good with configuring things in tight spaces, and he figured it all out. So I got my booth. I love it. We use the same gorgeous terrazzo counters from the bar to the kitchen booth table to the rest of the counters. We got these custom cushions made with a little wavy pattern. This is another one of my original prints. Did this really cool plate collage on the wall. The vibe I was going for in this kitchen is your grandma's Italian kitchen, and I feel like the diamond floors really lend itself to that. Just like the little charming elements like the scalloped lighting, and of course, terrazzo counters. I'm obsessed with these. Something else that we also did was add trim to all of our cabinets. They were plain shaker cabinets, and we wanted to bring in that charm. So we just glued these trim pieces right in and then painted it all bright green. And then over here, this might look like just an average bookcase, but it is a secret door to our super special retro rec room. So I grew up in Los Angeles, and I feel like that definitely has lent itself to my colorful, funky, vintage-inspired design style. I came from a very artistic home where that was fostered in me and my sister growing up, always to like draw and paint and really experiment with color. My parents weren't afraid to play with color in my house growing up. My mom painted all our kitchen cabinets raspberry one day. So it was something that was surrounding me growing up, and I think that really helped shape who I am today and why I love color and the style so much. How fun is this space? And I love that it's such a departure from the kitchen that our hidden door feels like a portal into a different decade. This room felt really random. It was just a room off of the kitchen, and I think by adding the secret door and doing something so fun with it, it makes it feel really intentional. It's like a little speakeasy. People love the party trick of opening that door and revealing this really epic, fun space. We love to host game nights in here. We hang out, listen to music. We have a bunch of instruments on the wall. I am such a big fan of 70s design, and this was one room in the house I was like, all right, we're gonna go for full 70s. And since it's sort of this hidden speakeasy, to me it was allowed to kind of be different from the rest of the house. This couch print is one of my original prints. As you can see, it's not only on the couch, this is a collab I did with Joybird, it's also on the wall and the curtains. And I'm such a fan of monochromatic print moments. A lot of people like to do monochromatic color, but I like to go full force with a print on everything in a space. So we bought this home from a musician, and he already had this little stage with the record collection built in, so it was just perfect for this space. We also have these guitars in their little cases. I thought it was such an iconic little rock and roll Hall of Fame kind of vibe, and these guitars are just so gorgeous. They deserve to be displayed. And last but not least, we have a disco ball in the center of the room. What 70s rec room would be complete without it? This thing is working. We have the light, the spinner, and it's a real good time. What's so cool about this home is it's in like a little hillside area, and it feels like a little treehouse. Like it's our own little sanctuary. You'll see our outdoor space. It's very naturey and fun, and I really wanted to lean into that like greenery that the house is surrounded by. So we ended up painting the whole exterior of our house green. We used a lot of green from our living room to our kitchen, and that was kind of like the main color I was focusing on for this particular house. I think my favorite room in the whole house has to be the living room. It was initially these big, tall, vaulted ceilings that made us want to come look at the listing when we bought it. And I just loved the like wood tones on the ceilings. We ended up adding skylights, which brought so much light to the space. We swapped out all of the lighting fixtures and really just wanted to focus on making this ceiling the centerpiece of the house. And next room up is our primary suite. Here's our main bedroom. This room is purple and gold, and purple is a color I don't use a lot in design, but I like to try everything, and it was a challenge for me to use purple in a way that felt really elevated and sophisticated, and I think we pulled it off. We added this really cool half wall trim. We have striped grass cloth on the bottom, one of my original wallpaper prints on top. We have also the same print on the bedding. Again, my monochromatic print moments that I love so much. Have really fun striped curtains, and this room is like very cohesive and intentional, and I feel like that really helped us make it feel very polished and finished. This room is kind of tight, and our senior dog right here was having trouble getting into bed, and we couldn't really find the right staircase situation that was cute or end of bed bench that actually fit. So my husband made this one, and we upholstered it with a striped fabric, and now she can get into bed and we can walk through, and it looks really cute. Another fabulous ceiling medallion, and then we added a lot of different wood tones to this space. To me, it sort of grounds the very feminine purple. Purple can feel a little juvenile, and the wood elements kind of make it feel a little more grounded and adds a different feel. Our next room is so fun. I can't wait to show you. Welcome to my cloffice. This room is a closet office hybrid. We needed more storage space. With a lot of old homes, they did not have enough closets. But I also needed a space where I could work. So my husband helped me add all of these cabinets to the wall, and he framed them in. We added molding. We did a half wall with paint, wallpaper on the upper wall, and wallpaper on the ceiling. We got this wild chandelier that just is the centerpiece of this room. A trick to having a big chandelier in a small space is putting like a desk or a table underneath it. And got this really cool office table that also works well for folding laundry and working. Having a closet room is every girl's dream. I'm able to have all of my clothes here in this beautiful space, but we couldn't just have it be a closet. That felt a little wasteful. So the hybrid was really the way to go here, and that way we get the most use out of the space. And right across from my cloffice, we have the bathroom. This bathroom was already green when we got it. All of the wall tile was here, and I thought it was so cool. But we did end up adding this terrazzo floor, this really beautiful vanity with the matching vanity top, really cool vessel sink, and really leaned into the green. I always loved both home and fashion growing up and thought I had to choose one or the other, because that's kind of what they tell you in high school. Like, all right, what are you gonna major in? Like, what's your career choice? So I ended up choosing fashion initially, and I always loved fashion and art, so that led me to apparel graphics, textile design. But I still loved designing my own spaces, and that was still a huge passion of mine. So throughout the years of building my clothing line, was able to buy my first house in Palm Springs, very fun and funky and mid-century. And my clothing line was very colorful and vintage inspired as well. And just kind of designed this space very similar to the vibe of my clothing line and shared it on social media. I was always very transparent, running my business on social media. It was like initially my clothing line's Instagram, but I treated it like a personal Instagram. So I was sharing my spaces and kind of my life in color, like a very maximalist lifestyle. And that was really kind of how I ended up shifting into more of the interior space, because people loved that sort of mix of fashion and home, and there's so much overlap with the two. I'm definitely inspired by vintage design. I love the 60s and the 70s. It was such a fun, bold era in design. But I also love like Art Deco style, 1920s, traditional style design. I really love it all. And I think as a designer, I'm just always wanting to try new things. So I'm constantly exploring new styles, new color schemes, new ways to design a space and make it special. And the tour keeps going to the downstairs portion of our house. This is the downstairs den. It is such a fun and colorful space and a little bit of a departure from the rest of the house. So we have our own little kitchen down here, these really fun statement vintage pieces. We eventually want to redo this to make it even more cute, but for now, the really cool appliances definitely help. The biggest change we made in here were the floors. They were dark, dark wood, almost black, and it made this feel more like a basement or a dungeon. So my husband ground down all the floors. We painted this amazing checkered pattern and we resurfaced it, and it now matches the upstairs, and it brought so much light into this space and made it feel like a warm, cozy space that you want to hang out in. When we first got this house with the dark floors, and this was metal, and this space was just very industrial, and it wasn't cozy or welcoming. So I really wanted to counteract that with my design choices. This, one of my original wallpaper prints, is a little folksy, a little grandma, if you will. The beadboard, the curtains, the whole vibe is a little more cozy granny. And I also have my grandmother's art on the wall, which kind of makes sense in this space. My grandma was an amazing artist, and she really loved and knew how to use color, and she's definitely one of my biggest inspirations in design. It's wild to have 2 living rooms, but we actually use this space a lot when we rent out our upstairs for photo shoots. We also use this as a guest suite. This is a pull-out couch. We have a guest room attached to it. It really has everything you would need. It's like its whole own separate space. It even has a little dining area, an office area. I also intentionally switched up the wallpaper on this side of the room to kind of give it a little bit of that separation and make it feel like a little bit of a different moment. Lighting fixtures are such a cool way that you can easily elevate your space just by swapping them out. And then you have a whole statement right here, like above our dining room. The color scheme in this room, I wanted it to feel kind of vintage Americana. We don't have any blue upstairs in our house, so I really leaned into the blue down here. And again, that ties into my grandmother's artwork. She used a lot of blue. So I feel like wherever we live, I need to have a blue room so I can have her art there. I feel like it was always a big dream of mine to write a book, but it's just one of those dreams that seems like it's never gonna come true. But I think just by being bold and putting my work out there and it standing out really helped build an audience, and that's how my publisher found me. So I got to accomplish my dream of writing a book, and I really put my everything into that book. I talk all about my journey as a designer from fashion design and then how I got into interiors. And in my book, I share some of my earliest spaces where I wasn't as well-versed as I am now, and I was still learning. And I think it's really cool to share that process and the journey along the way, and some of these first spaces I designed where I was maybe just doing like one color for the whole room. Now I'm trying to put like 4 or 5 colors in a room. And I really wanted to share my whole journey along the way and hope that that encourages readers to be a little more bold and a little more daring in their everyday life, from what they wear to what they decide to paint a wall in their house. I think that that's something that you can cultivate and build confidence and work towards, and I just hope to be an inspiration for others. This is our guest room. This home was full of so many unique little spaces and nooks, and I guess this used to be the previous owner's studio space, which is why it has these little windows and had the little stage upstairs. It's a very quirky home. This is also a little room, like half the size, like a room cut in half, and it's not done yet, but we plan on making it a really cozy little zen spot off of our guest bedroom. We went for print clashing in this room. As you can see, the wallpaper and the carpet, it's like a similar print, kind of similar color scheme. There's a lot going on and they're kind of fighting each other, but in a really fun visual way. And I made that work by actually adding more print. Sometimes the only way out is through, and to just keep going and leaning into that maximalism. So we added a checkered rug on top of the carpet. We added really cool bedding and just kind of kept layering on different prints, and that's how we made it work. These carpet tiles are one of my favorite kind of hidden secrets, I would say. So these are about this size carpet tiles, and you just lay them down and you can cut them to fit the edge of the room. You can make them a big rug. I like to use them as a carpet. I feel like carpets are coming back in unique and unexpected ways like this, and it feels very vintage hotel. Since it's a guest room, I really wanted it to feel like our guests were here on holiday and like it was a departure from their everyday life. This wood wall was already there, and I really liked it as an accent wall, and to kind of keep it more earthy, I found this cool woven art piece by Pelican House. They are numbered and they only do a certain amount, and I thought it was just a really pretty piece for this room. Working on the Trixie Motel was another one of those wild dream come true projects that sort of just fell into my lap by putting my work out there on social media. A casting producer found me and contacted me and asked if I was interested in redoing a vintage motel in Palm Springs, which was just like the coolest concept ever. And then like as the project went on, they revealed more of the details, that it was with Trixie Motel, and it was this amazing pink vintage motel that I was already familiar with. And I just have so many ties to Palm Springs from my first home being there. My mom is from there. I love vintage design and bringing vintage spaces back to life. So everything about this project was such a dream for me. It was definitely one of the coolest things I've ever done. We spent 4.5 months out in the desert working on the project. My husband was there with me because he helps me with everything. My God, I would not be able to do all of this without him. It was a wild ride, and it was all filmed for TV. We're on HBO Max, Trixie Motel. You have to check it out. It's such a good show. The timeline was so real. In 4.5 months, we turned an outdated and pretty rundown motel into a beautiful themed motel. Every single room is a different theme. We really went for it. It is such a fun, happy, playful space. And I feel like we were able to accomplish the themes and just the overall theminess of it, and it being a drag motel, but in a very like classy, upscale way. I love to make kitsch really elevated and beautiful, because I think you can have both. You can have fun, colorful design, and it can also be done in a really beautiful, artful way. Now let's take this party outside. This is our personal backyard oasis. And believe it or not, this space was actually a gross gravel driveway that we never used. It had a chain link fence and we ended up doing this really cool checkered lawn. We added this whole second tier on top. We added a cowboy pool. I love the high-low vibe of a cowboy pool, and we really try to elevate it by painting fun colors, getting these really nice benches and cushions. I like to treat designing an exterior the same way I do an interior. So I have a bunch of cozy seating, little vignettes, conversation moments, and I create a space that you actually want to sit and hang out with your friends. We love hosting back here. We love hanging out in the cowboy pool. It's just such a magical space that was literally unused before. We have tons of activities in the backyard, including this ping pong table. I was a big fan of the show Love Island, and they have their pink ping pong table that was so cute, and I needed my own that actually matched our house. So I found this amazing mint green one from Ledge Loungers. I love finding things that are aesthetic, but also practical and fitting them into a space. Same with this matching dartboard. How cute is it? This is our epic deck. This was here when we first bought the house, but it was all painted red and it felt angry and not relaxing. And adding this dark green totally transformed the space. It has gorgeous views, trees everywhere. It has this really cool covered area, a built-in fireplace moment, and this really neat floor that my husband and I did myself. It was all concrete before, but we painted it with a stencil using concrete paint, and it worked like a charm, and now it looks like a tile floor. I feel like your interior and your home is so much more than just a physical space or something that's like trivial or shallow, if you will. I think that it's something that can truly affect your day-to-day life. Your space can bring you joy and happiness if you're building it around things that you love and things that spark joy in your life. And I think that that can not only make your day-to-day life a little happier, but bleed into all areas of your life and inspire you to be a little more bold and daring and just joyful. Well, Homeworthy, it was so fun to show you through my home in LA, but it's time that you get out of here. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.